Today we're getting faded. In Lightroom. That's probably a bad way to start it. We're fading some photos in Lightroom. What's up, YouTube? It's your boy, BMAC. So one of the biggest compliments, or complaints, depending on what your personal style is, has to do with the faded effect that I use on 99% of my Instagram posts. Some people love it, some people absolutely hate it. I personally like it, I think it looks good. That's pretty much the only thing that matters, really, at the end of the day. If it's a creative effect you like, if you like putting in a fade to your photos, roll with it. So today, I thought it'd be fun to actually show you guys how I get a fade effect in my photos, for those of you who've been asking for a pretty long time on the comments of my Instagram feed. And if you don't already, I highly recommend you follow your boy, @BMACadelic on Instagram, so that you can actually see the photos I'm talking about. And that way you can see how I use the fade effect, how I actually apply it to my feed, and so that I can check out some of your work. From time to time, whenever someone follows me or likes some of my photos, I usually will check out your page, like a few of my favorites, and create a community of photography people. Photographers. So let's get right to it. When it comes to the fade effect, there are two ways I have personally always used to get that fade effect in my photos. The first is with an app called VSCO. V-S-C-O, VSCO? I don't really know the pronunciation. There was a time where the VSCO photo editing app was my absolute favorite. I use it for every single Instagram photo that I publish to my feed. And you could achieve the faded effect in VSCO. On the bottom of the screen, there's actually an icon specifically for this effect called fade, if you can believe that. And by dragging that fade slider to the right, you can actually see the fade being applied to your photo. That's a simple way to do it. That's how I used to do it, but I personally like to learn how to actually recreate the effects that I'm applying to my photos. I'm a photographer, I'm a filmmaker. I gotta see what I'm doing here. So I don't really use VSCO any longer. I actually edit everything right in Adobe Lightroom, which we're gonna talk about in just a second. It just gives me more control over the photo itself. I can actually tweak a few specific things. So I'm gonna demonstrate this in Adobe Lightroom. I highly recommend Adobe Lightroom. This is the master editing application I could recommend for your photography editing. I've been using it for years now, and I actually use Adobe Premiere Pro to edit all my videos. And Lightroom and Premiere all come in the Adobe Creative Cloud suite. For more information on Adobe Creative Cloud, specifically Adobe Lightroom, you can find more information on that in the video description box below. So let's get to the faded effect in Lightroom. So this is Adobe Lightroom. This is a photo I took of Cape Cod. Beautiful photo. I already applied all my different settings over here, exposure, white shadows, all of that, even my colors that I tweaked a little bit, but it's missing something. It's missing a fade. So if you've watched my Lightroom Basics tutorial video on the channel, you basically already know what all these settings mean. And if you remember from that video, we actually talked about this bad girl right here, the tone curve. And if you remember correctly, you could actually drop certain points on this tone curve to actually affect the brightness in certain areas of your photo. You can do that yourself, or you can toggle this button right here, which will allow you to get a little bit more specific in certain areas. It's a little bit more user-friendly to do it that way. But in order to apply the fade effect, you're gonna wanna click on this button right here. And this is the secret to the fade effect. Are you ready? It gets pretty complicated, so listen up. You're gonna go to your tone curve, you're gonna pick the bottommost point on your tone curve, and drag up, and there it is. Looks sexy already. That's it. Seriously, it's that simple. That is the key to getting a fade in your photos within Adobe Lightroom. Now, a couple things to point out here. You wanna kinda stay on this dotted line. If you look closely, there's a dotted line, which is like the 45-degree angle of the tone curve. You wanna bring up the bottom of the tone curve like this, so you have this horizontal line on the left side here, which is basically just cutting out your blacks. You wanna bring that up so it matches on that dotted line. That'll make sure that your brightness is kind of the same as you already edited previously, like we talked about in the Lightroom Basics tutorial video. Now, when you're dragging this up to get that faded effect, don't bring it up too far, because then it's just gonna start looking way too washed out. That's a little bit too much fade, in my opinion. You see these quadrants here, or what is that, 8/16ths? 16ths, I don't know what you call that. But see this little first connection here, this first crosshairs here? I usually won't drag this up any further than that. And even then, that's kind of far. Usually I'm somewhere right around here. We're gonna bring it up right below that today. So that's a before and an after with the fade effect. Now you're gonna wanna play with it a little bit to make it look good for your particular photo. Make sure you drag the bottom of the tone, not like that. Drag the bottom of the tone curve like that and bring it up. That's how you get the fade. That's a little bit OD. We're gonna bring that down a little bit, back to where it was before. Faded. And that is it. That is the secret to the fade effect you see all over VSCO and Instagram. That's what's happening when you see that. Whether you're using an app that'll actually do that for you automatically, or if you're doing it yourself within Lightroom, that's the secret to the fade effect in your photos. Now, it's very easy to go overboard with the fade effect. You know, it's one of those rules where, like, you know, a little bit goes a long way, so don't feel like you gotta crank up that fade all the way to 12 on Visco or all the way up the tone curve on Lightroom. Just a little touch of the fade effect could actually make your photos look very distinct and stylized. I recommend it if it's something you're going for. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at BMAC so I can see your fade effect photos in action. Don't forget to smash that thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe for new filmmaking and photography tutorials on this channel each and every Thursday as part of the daily vlogs I'm putting on the channel 5 times per week. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Go get faded. Well, go fade your photos. Don't actually get... Have fun fading your photos.